Welcome back to Fantasy 1.0. Today, know your stats. So we're going to review some of the hitter stats and some of the pitcher stats that you're going to be drafting for in your league.
Put your seatbelt on and yield for the apocalypse, yeah. It's the apocalypse, yeah.
All right, so of course everybody knows what a run and an RBI and a home run and a stolen base and all of those things are, but we're going to talk about them a little bit and just sort of where likely you're going to be able to pull these stats from players. So we'll start with pitchers, hitters, and we'll move on to pitchers. So the first one is runs. Where are you going to find runs? You're going to find runs from hitters that tend to hit at the top of the lineup, leadoff's ideal, and are, at the head of a good offense, let's say. That's your Charlie Blackmons. That this year is actually your Adam Eatons in Washington. But you're going to look for teams with good offenses where you've got a speedy guy with a good on-base percentage who's sitting right at the top of the lineup with a big banger behind him that's going to bat him in. So again, Charlie Blackmon, he's got Nolan Arenado right behind him. Bryce Harper is going to be probably batting third ahead of Adam Eaton and Trey Turner. So that looks pretty good for him. Home runs, look for things like ballpark factors. So obviously there's certain places like Petco Field where the ball doesn't tend to travel as far, or the fences are just further out. So look for fields, like Yankee Stadium and whatnot, where, the fields are smaller, they tend to be more hitter parks. And obviously look at, the bigger guys who hit the ball a lot harder. RBIs. So you're going to want to look for guys that are hitting, let's say, third to fifth in a lineup, again, with good guys at the top of the lineup to set the table. So sort of in the inverse of why you want Charlie Blackmon is why you want Nolan Arenado as well. Charlie Blackmon gets on the base all the time. I think his on-base percentage is between 350 and 400 every year. And Arenado's betting a couple spots behind him in a great field. So again, almost a lock for 130 RBIs. And, typically he hits about 35 to 40 home runs. Stolen bases, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. You've seen one of my earlier episodes, don't punt categories, don't punt steals. Problem being with steals is you're not going to get them from every player. There's really about 10 stolen base specialists in the league, but you do want to have one on your roster. So you're going to want to have a Billy Hamilton, a D. Gordon, or someone like that. One of those guys alone can supplement your steals by a third. Now we're getting into batting average or on-base percentage. Now, depending on your league, you're going to have one or the other. Typically, you won't have both. Batting average, you're looking for just that. How many times is this guy going to get a hit? Versus, grounding out and striking out and whatnot. On base percentage, now again, this is why you want to do your own player rankings. Because with on base percentage, you got to start to take into account, does he walk or not? You look at some players and, they hit the ball pretty well. They bat around 300, but their on base percentage is actually only 330. Again, you want to find guys that walk the ball, work the count a lot more. All right, so that's hitters in a nutshell. Let's move on to pitching. So wins are tough to predict. One thing you could be said is, okay, draft pitchers that are on the starting pitchers that are on the Cubs or on the Dodgers, teams you expect to project to 90 to 100 wins. Those starting pitchers, if they're of sound quality, are likely going to be a part of those wins quite a bit. Quality starts is sort of an alternative stat to wins. Now, a quality start is when a starting pitcher logs at least six innings and gives up no more than 3 runs. So this is where you're going to look at, well, okay, they play at Petco Field in San Diego. They play for the Marlins or the Royals, Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. These are the places that are more hitter-friendly or pitcher-friendly parks. Also, then you can take into consideration, what type of infield and outfield defense, is on the team. The quality of the catcher even, depending on where you want to go with this. But again, you're going to be wanting a pitcher that's going to be able to log about 6 innings of work in a let's say a defensive friendly team in a pitcher-friendly stadium. Ks. So obviously, Ks are going to tie into just about everything, ERA and WHIP and everything as we go into later, because that's really that is the one place where the pitcher has the ability to actually get a hitter out without any of the help of any of his teammates and relying on, shortstop to pick up that hard hit grounder up the middle and throw it to first. 1, 2, 3, and you're out. So again, it's a counting stat. You want a lot of strikeouts, Ks per 9 innings, because you're going to win that category. But it also sort of, lends into, your WHIP, your ERA, and so on, which brings us to ERA. ERA is your earned run average. Obviously, this is a bit of a refresher for most people. But what that is, you know, the average amount of runs you give up in a 9-inning frame. You want that to be low because the lowest one wins. WHIP is walks and hits and innings pitched. So that is, you know, if you've got a WHIP of 1, which is phenomenal, by the way, that means you only give up, you only allow an average of 1 runner per inning. Players that have better WHIPs tend to strike out a lot of guys and walk very few guys. So that's something to take in consideration as well. You know, so WHIP lends to ERA. You know, they have a pretty close relationship, let's say. Moving us on to saves. So saves, again, you know, everybody has a bullpen. Like it or not, you've got to track saves in baseball. So this is where you're going to want to keep a close eye on closer depth charts after you've drafted. You're going to have your, you know, your typical closers that are safe in their jobs. You maybe want to draft some guys at the back end that are sort of, you know, let's say saving games by committee, and you hope one's going to become the lead horse or the front runner. But again, there's less and less security in this position. I think there's maybe 10 closers across the league that, you know, won't get a quick hook after 2 or 3 bad games. So it's something where you may want a really strong one at the top and then a few more flyers near the bottom. But another thing to consider with saves is they're a great opportunity for your ratios. If you get a dominant reliever that can save games, that strikes out a lot of guys, and obviously low WHIP doesn't get a lot of people on base, not a lot of runs, your ratios are going to be improving. So, you know, where you have a bit of, let's say, mediocrity at the back end of your starting rotation, if you've got these kick-ass relievers that are striking out a lot of guys, it's going to be really improving your ratios while at the same time helping you with saves. Okay, so there you have it. I hope that gives you, you know, a little bit more information, shed some more light on the stats you're going to be chasing on draft day. We really want your comments, your suggestions, so reach out to us at the links below, Twitter, visit our website, read our blogs, check out our videos, and let us know what you think. And again, if you have any questions, just let us know.